Hello, everyone, and welcome to our free June webinar, Building a Profitable Shopify Bookkeeping Niche. Welcome, everyone, whether you're joining me live or joining me via recording. As you're joining me, let me know in the chat where you're joining from. As you know, I love to see where everybody's joining from because it's usually people from all over the world. And I like to feel like I'm talking to real people. So it always helps me to know in the chat who's joining and where you're joining me from. And there we go. We have Flava from Toronto, Canada, Alexia from Atlanta, Georgia, Susan from Wisconsin, and as you know, then I can't tell you. It goes so fast because so many of you joined. So it's super exciting to see that. I think I saw Ken Bostrom. So hi, Ken. Go by there. Belinda from Georgetown, Texas, a fellow Texan. Michelle from Iowa. Katie from Nashville. Margaret from Iowa. Nancy from Colorado. And it just goes on and on. Grace de Guzman from the Philippines. Hello, Grace. Guzman is my mother's maiden name, by the way, just a little trivia. So, yeah, there it is. Hello from sunny and hot. Oh, what did that say? Hot San Diego. Hi, Robin. I didn't know it gets that hot in San Diego. It's pretty hot here. It's been definitely in the upper 90s, over 100 degrees sometimes. It definitely feels like it's over 100 degrees, and it's been a lot of fun trying to deal with the heat so early on. Jessica from the Philippines and Arnold from the Philippines. So welcome, welcome. I see Candace from San Antonio, Corinne from British Columbia, Canada. Welcome, everyone. And there must be a lot of interest in Shopify. I know that at some point, really and honestly, at some point as a bookkeeper, you will work with a Shopify client. And I know initially that when Shopify clients would come to me or Shopify sellers would come to me, and I would just be like, no, I don't want to deal with it because it is very different. But what I found was that there's a huge opportunity, and that's what I'm talking to you guys about today. Marie is asking, am I in a caboose? It looks like that. Actually, it's a virtual background. So what you can see in the back here is just a virtual background. It's supposed to, let me see, it's supposed to be like an office type setup. So, but it does look sort of like a train or caboose, which I do like trains. And Renee is joining us from Hawaii. Oh, and Amanda says she's in Angleton, Texas, near Sugar Land. Yep, absolutely. Another fellow Texan. Yeah, Marie says clever background. So, you know, when you're virtual, it's wherever you are. That's where you work. And I happen to be at my home office today. And because my home office is also my art studio, it's not that neat in the background. So I have to then do the virtual background. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So in case you don't know me or you just recently heard about me and now joining our free webinars, I am Veronica Wasik. I'm the CEO and founder of VM Wasik, and we do specialize in Shopify accounting. And those are the only clients that we work with now is Shopify bookkeeping and consulting clients. I'm the founder of the 5-minute bookkeeping, and I forget now what I found it. I'm the founder. I'm going to start over. I'm the founder of the 5-minute bookkeeping YouTube channel and blog. I'm also the founder of the 5-minute bookkeeping community on Facebook, and the founder of the 5MB Academy, where I educate bookkeepers to become better bookkeepers. I have been named a top 10 as well as a top 100 QuickBooks Pro advisor. I am a certified public accountant and also certified advanced in QuickBooks Online. And I passed my recertification a couple of weeks ago, so I'm glad to get that out of the way. I do live in Sugar Land, Texas. It's right outside of Houston. And you can follow me on Instagram at 5-minute bookkeeping. Some administrative announcements for you guys. First of all, I have Jessie Harris with me. She's my amazing team member. She will be in the chat, moderating, answering some questions, or sending other questions over to the Q&A tab for me to answer. Just so you know, all content, handouts, recordings, and everything that I will show you are under copyright, which means that that is my content and not yours. I share it freely with you, but I ask you to respect that it is my content. You may not record this webinar. I am giving you the handouts. You should see a tab in your webinar window for a handout. If not, just put something in the chat and Jessie will share the link to the handout. But if you don't have the handout, don't worry, because we will email everyone, whether you attended or not, or whether you had to leave early or not. We will email you the handout as well as the recordings. And as I said, Jessie will be in the chat with everyone, helping to moderate. So what will we be talking about today? Number one, the Shopify opportunity. Second, where to find Shopify clients, benefits of working in a niche, profitable service offerings, partnering with other experts, and developing a Shopify niche. And by the way, I say niche because in most of the world, people say niche, as opposed to in the US, we say niche. So I just train myself to say niche so that everyone can understand. Let's talk about the Shopify opportunity. And I'm going to, before I do that, just so that to reiterate, because I don't think I made it very clear. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A tab. There's a section there that says Q&A. Put your questions there, and I will answer your questions at the end. So there will be plenty of time for me to answer questions. All right, so let's start with the Shopify opportunity. As you know, e-commerce, the e-commerce industry is growing. Sales have steadily grown since 2010, and more so because of the COVID era. E-commerce sales increased by 44% in 2020, and because primarily of COVID, and they have continued to increase. They increased 14% in 2021, and is continued to, or is projected to continue growing. So it is really a huge opportunity. But why Shopify? Well, or even what is Shopify? Shopify is an e-commerce and point of sale software platform. So basically, someone who wants to sell online can purchase or sign up for the Shopify software, which enables them to put together a website where they can sell products to end consumers. Unlike, say, an Amazon, for example, where Amazon sells the products and multiple people go to Amazon, Shopify is different because the seller is selling on their own website, and then they have to attract people to buy from their website. But Shopify is extremely popular. It's used in nearly every country in the world. So if you can hear me, you probably have people in wherever you live in your part of the world, they're using Shopify. And Shopify has integrations with many apps. However, Shopify and Shopify accounting has some complexities, multiple payment processors, inventory management, integrations, and sales taxes. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. All right. So why e-commerce? Why Shopify? First of all, e-commerce sellers can be great virtual bookkeeping clients. And this is something that I did not realize when I started working with e-commerce and then Shopify sellers. There is a very significant difference between working with, say, a small business owner and working with an e-commerce seller. E-commerce sellers are very tech savvy. They're online. So, we're we're wanting to be virtual bookkeepers or wanting to work with people who are tech savvy and online, e-commerce sellers are both. E-commerce sellers are used to outsourcing services, so it's no big deal for them to hire virtual teams to handle significant tasks for them. They value working with experts. They are intimidated by the complexity of doing their own books and the complexity of sales taxes. They recognize the risk of trying to do their own financials. And they really can't find qualified bookkeepers and accountants who understand e-commerce. The average Shopify seller who comes to me, 9 out of 10 times has tried to reach out to a local bookkeeper or their CPA, and they have been turned away because that bookkeeper or CPA does not understand e-commerce and certainly do not understand Shopify. And e-commerce sellers' businesses can grow really fast. So unlike, for example, a service-based business that maybe has to be in business for, say, 5 to 10 years before they see significant increase, an e-commerce seller can take off within a year. It can grow really, really fast. And so that raises a lot of pain points for them. Most of them are not business owners. They're not experienced as business owners. And so, as I said, they're very intimidated now by the fact that, oh my gosh, I have a business. I have to set up the business correctly. I have to have books. I have to do sales taxes. And so they're looking for specialists and experts to work with them. What are some of the common bookkeeping mistakes made by Shopify sellers and untrained bookkeepers? First of all, not understanding the difference between sales made via Shopify versus deposits received from payment processors. So let me explain this, and some of you may have watched my YouTube channels. If you haven't, I encourage you to go to my YouTube playlist for e-commerce accounting, and hopefully Jesse will share that link with you. I get into these topics in a lot more detail, but I want to touch on some of the pain points so that you can understand that if you start to speak your prospective client's language, if you understand their pain points, it'll be much easier for you to attract and win those ideal clients, and especially Shopify sellers. And also, it'll help you to understand why other people who don't do Shopify bookkeeping keep pushing these clients away. So, as I said, not understanding the difference of sales made via Shopify versus deposits received from payment processors. So basically, when an e-commerce seller sells product, they make a sale on their website. And they accept different forms of payment. They may accept credit card payments. They may accept PayPal. Or they may accept something called Affirm, which lets a purchaser make payments over time. For each of those types of payments that they accept, then they're going to receive a bulk deposit from that, what we call that payment processor, the credit card, PayPal, or Affirm, or something else. They're going to receive a deposit from that payment processor. And most of the time what we see, which is the next pain point here, is double and triple income. So what we'll see is that untrained bookkeepers in Shopify or Shopify sellers who are trying to do their own books are trying to record sales from Shopify, deposits from PayPal, for example, and then sometimes even a transfer out of PayPal into their bank account. They record that as income too. Now, I did a video explaining all of that in more detail. As I said, Jesse's sharing the link to that playlist. But we'll see double and triple income. We'll see bad app integrations. So sellers are trying to integrate Shopify with QuickBooks Online. They find a free app or a cheap app, and it just causes a giant data dump into QuickBooks. And then what we see are thousands of transactions in QuickBooks slowing down the database. We'll also see that untrained users are attempting to track inventory items in QuickBooks, which QuickBooks is not really made to work with complex inventory situations, and definitely not made to work with e-commerce inventory situations. They may also not be recording any payment processing fees. As I talked about, payment processors like the credit cards, PayPal, and others, they charge a fee to the seller to process the payment for that sale. And the fees have to get recorded. So a lot of people are not recording those fees. Also, they don't understand how to record and reconcile payment processor clearing accounts. And I'll talk about clearing accounts more later. And you can learn more about those on from my YouTube videos as well. And lastly, they do not know how to record and reconcile PayPal transactions, because we all know PayPal is a pain. And it's more of a pain when now you're using PayPal and Shopify. Now, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to sort of paint the reality of what are the pain points that are out there. And now think of it this way. If you understood how to do all of this for your Shopify clients, you could, first of all, increase your fees because you can, and I did. And also, you'd be a rock star to your clients because you would know what are all of the issues that they're coming across when trying to do their own books, or even when another bookkeeper is trying to do their books and that bookkeeper doesn't really know how to work with those Shopify transactions. Where do we find these Shopify clients? So let's talk about that. First of all, if you're looking to specialize in Shopify, I think that the number one thing you have to do is to start letting everyone know in your professional circle that that's what you now do. I know many of you are on social media, especially Facebook groups, because I know many of you from there. You're probably in my group as well. So in Facebook groups, you can, without selling or cross-promoting, start letting people know you specialize in Shopify clients, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. So you can either interact with others or you can create content that is specific to those types of sellers. Referrals is another way in which you can get a Shopify client. So if you start letting everyone know, say on your social media, that this is what you specialize in, then people in your network will hopefully refer clients to you, as well as other professionals. As I said, most accountants and bookkeepers don't want to deal with Shopify clients or e-commerce clients. So they need to know that you specialize in those areas so that they'll send clients to you. Also, using your website, I put down SEO. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, or using Google My Business is probably an easier way to optimize your website and have people find you. Using key terms such as Shopify Bookkeeper, Shopify Accountant. And there are also local meetup groups in which Shopify sellers get together in person or sometimes via Zoom. I know that there's a big Shopify seller group in Austin, Texas, and they have in-person events as well as virtual events. Now let's talk about the benefits of working in a niche. This is something that I really struggled with, even just finding a niche several years ago. I think it took me about 3 years to really commit. And I think part of it was I was scared that I was going to get bored. And I was scared, I think primarily that, it just doesn't make sense. Like, how would I grow my business if I'm narrowing really narrowing the niche that I would work with? And what I found really is the complete opposite has happened. And I'll talk in a moment about what I've seen in my own business and how it has improved since I niched. But there's so much benefit in working in a niche that I really had not even thought about or realized the extent of that benefit. First of all, you will find premium clients who value your expertise. As I said, if others are turning your ideal client away because they don't have the expertise to work with them, then those people will definitely be looking for people who can help them and understand now that they need to pay more to work with a specialist because there are few people who can help them. The next benefit is streamlining your workflows. I can't tell you how important that has been in my practice with my 4 employees, streamlining our workflows, because even though we had a sort of a niche, we specialized in QuickBooks Online, that is a type of a niche, we worked with many different kinds of industries. And so every time we would take on a cleanup client or a bookkeeping client, we had to look at, well, okay, is it a service-based business? Is it a retail business? What are they doing different from the other client that, we have to now customize everything that we do to work with that client. Working with a niche also will allow you to really have a consistent app stack, because now you can work with a lot less apps, and again, helps to streamline your workflows, helps to simplify things. So, we're not having to look for an app that will work with construction clients versus an app that will work with retail clients or marketing agencies or any of the other clients that we work with. You have a lot less apps to work with. Benefits of working with a niche: providing specific services. So rather than doing everything for everyone, because that's what I did, okay, that's exactly what I would do. The more complex, the better, because I was so excited to work on those types of clients. But ultimately, that wasn't really helping me to be profitable. We were having fun, okay, but we weren't nearly as profitable as we are now because we have narrowed our service offering. And another benefit of working with a niche is that it's easier to hire team members. Because again, if we have streamlined our workflows, if we're working with less apps, if we're providing specific services, now we can hire people to really work in a more predictable situation. So it's easier to train them. It's easier for them to follow the processes because now we have more established guidelines for them to follow, as opposed to, oh, well, here's this client, here's this other client, and here's this app, and here's how we do this, but we don't do it for this client like that because we do it for this client like that. So it removes a lot of the complexity and a lot of the confusion that employees feel when you're just working with any kind of client. And Robin says boredom is her major block too. Believe me, you will never be bored with Shopify clients. I can tell you that for sure. I've never been bored with Shopify clients because they are still very different from each other. They work in different types of industries, and it is a challenging niche. So what were the results of then narrowing down my niche and really choosing Shopify as a niche instead of you can't even see my arms go. Okay, like this was QuickBooks Online. Okay, this was Ecommerce, and this is Shopify. Okay, I narrowed significantly, but the results were that we doubled our average hourly rate. We replaced 2 full-time employees with 2 part-time employees. We streamlined our workflows, and we increased profitability. Can't talk. We increased profitability significantly. And I, in the past 2 years, have seen a significant difference in my business financially. And not only that, my team members are happy. I think now they know what we're doing. I don't have to surprise them every day because I used to surprise them, right, Jessie? She's probably laughing in the background there. That it was always a surprise of now we're working with this client and now we're doing this and now we're doing this like massive cleanup. And so the team members are much calmer and happier now. And I'm able to pay them more. I'm able to treat them better because we're being more profitable. And Jeanette says, I want to be hired and trained by Veronica. Oh, that's sweet. We actually hired someone recently, and she's been with us for a month. Her name is Lisa, and we love Lisa. And then Francie says that yes, she wants to be hired and trained by me also. And a few others say that. All right. And Jessie said it's true, all true about, the just a surprise. What's the new surprise of the day? What client are we working with? So all of that has gone away. Everybody's much happier and we're a lot more profitable. So speaking of profitable, let's talk about profitable service offerings. So we talked about Shopify is a really good niche that you can get into. We talked about the fact that the Shopify clients are really good clients that we can be profitable. So what are some of the services that we can provide? These are exactly the services that we provide, and we don't do anything other than this. We set up their books. So we work with a lot of newer Shopify sellers who are taking off really fast. Their sales are growing really fast. So they sometimes don't even have their books set up. Sometimes they try to set up their books, but they're all messed up. So we start them over. So we'll set up their QuickBooks. We will set up an integration between Shopify and their QuickBooks. We make sure that all of that is mapped correctly and set up properly. We will coach and train them. Some of them do want their books set up. They want their integration set up. They want things to sort of get to a point where things are clean. And then they want us to show them how to continue on their own. And we do that. We'll also do monthly bookkeeping. And then we'll clean up their books. If we have some clients who've tried to do their own books for a time, we'll clean up the books. But that is all. So I'm not doing QuickBooks desktop to online conversions. I'm not doing anything, no other types of clients, no other services. And in fact, we do all of this using QuickBooks Online and A2X, which is the integrator app. And so we're not working with clients who use WebGility or Cinder or other integrator apps. We work with one integrator app. And so if you think about it, and I said like Shopify is this, what our offering, our niche is probably this. And yet it's been a game changer for us. Now, you could offer more specialized service offerings. Say that if you have a tax background and maybe you like doing sales tax preparation, you could go that route. There's certainly a lot of room in that space to do that. We happen to not do any of the sales tax preparation ourselves. And if you have a background in inventory, that could be another area in which you can go into for inventory consulting and then helping these Shopify sellers to manage their inventory. There's a huge need in both of these areas. But, as I said, we decided we were not going to do the sales taxes. We're not going to be their inventory consultants because there are a lot of complexities in the e-commerce space. And so instead of shying away from I can't do Shopify, I can't do e-commerce because I don't have all of this expertise, right? I'm not the greatest person in sales taxes. I don't really know very much about inventory consulting. And so rather than shying away from the niche, what I did is I partnered with other experts, and that's what I would encourage you to do. You need to partner with sales tax experts, with inventory software vendors, and with inventory consultants. here are some links for you to reach out to and make some relationships with people in the sales tax space. These are professional services, so these are services that will do all of the sales tax for your client. Sales Tax and More is that is the company that we've partnered with. Avalera Professional Services and Tax Valet. So what these companies will do is that they will help your e-commerce client, your Shopify client, to first of all determine if they have what we call nexus, or if they have to start worrying about sales taxes. Okay, so they'll do what's called a nexus study to see if they need to start filing and collecting for sales taxes in other states. They will do that study and then tell them which states they need to register to collect sales taxes in. They will register them in those states, and then they will prepare the sales tax returns for them. Now, like I said, this wasn't anything that I wanted to do myself or that I wanted our team to take on, but there are, as I said, very reputable people that you can team up with to handle this for you. And by the way, because e-commerce sellers are used to hiring various types of experts, they don't see it as a problem. Okay, so they're not trying to find a one-stop shop to do all of their bookkeeping, their sales taxes, and their income taxes, because e-commerce is already complex enough. And as I said, if their accountants don't want to touch the bookkeeping, they don't want to touch the integrations, they don't want to touch the sales taxes, they're really not finding anyone who can do it all. And so again, just team up with experts and just tell them, no, I don't do that, but I've teamed up with an expert who will handle the sales taxes for you. And Eric had a question and I answered it on the next slide. So Eric was getting a little ahead of me. Okay. Another area in which, again, you don't have to have the expertise is in inventory software or inventory management. I'm sharing with you a list of inventory management software vendors. These are probably the ones that are on my top list. There are more. Inventory software is really, excuse me. Inventory software is not a one-size-fits-all, and so you really have to find the right software for the specific needs of your client. And so what I would encourage you to do is to build relationships or sign up as a partner with some of these software vendors. And then what they'll do is that they will handle doing a demo for your client. They will get the implementation going. They do everything. And you just help them. Usually you end up helping with the integration, just making sure that things are getting integrated into QuickBooks correctly. And then a lot of these vendors, as I said, they do have partner programs, and they also provide training and certifications. And that is something that now, being almost 3 years into this niche, what we're doing now is trying to gain that knowledge in the inventory space, just because now it's time. After we took 3 years to build our niche and to train everyone, now it's time for us to really start increasing our knowledge. And we feel like inventory is probably one of those areas where we would like to develop more expertise. And here's a name for an inventory consultant. So if, say, your client really has very specific needs and they need someone to come in and maybe build something custom for them or help them figure out the operational side of their business, and here's someone that they can contact. All right. So we talked about the fact that Shopify really is a great niche with a lot of opportunity. How do we develop this Shopify niche? Oh, and Mick says Conrad is awesome. Great to hear that. I haven't had the opportunity to use Conrad yet, but I have met him in person and have heard that he's very, very good. All right. So then how do we build a niche? Well, I'll tell you about how I built it. Okay. So I started my business in 2010 and very quickly figured out that I needed to focus on QuickBooks. And actually, this slide isn't technically correct because QuickBooks Online wasn't really a thing in 2010. So I started as a QuickBooks desktop expert somewhere around 2014, 2015, decided that I wanted to then focus specifically on QuickBooks Online. And so I built my business really for 9 years, just centered around expertise in QuickBooks. In 2019, finally decided that I wanted to niche in e-commerce, primarily because I was seeing some people that I respected who said that they were building that niche and that it was very profitable. And I felt that it was challenging. Again, some of the fears that I had, I felt like it addressed some of the fears of like, I'm going to be bored and, I won't like it. It has never been boring. But 2019, decided to niche in e-commerce, but then realized that e-commerce is much too broad of a niche. And in 2021, decided to then only work with Shopify clients. And as I said, well, I'll give you a little bit more detail here. So July 2019, as I said, I decided to niche in e-commerce. At that point, I learned everything that I could about e-commerce. I learned the language of e-commerce because you need to talk to e-commerce sellers in their language, and their language is different. I initially focused on Amazon and Shopify, probably a bit more on Amazon. I became a part of the A2X partner program, and I realized that e-commerce was just too big of a niche. So in 2020 then I went through an implementation with my team. I trained my team members. We developed systems and processes, and then ended up by the end of the year narrowing down our niche to Shopify sellers. In 2021, we continue to streamline our workflows and processes because of, we're just trying to make sure everything that we've implemented on, what is the monthly bookkeeping workflow? What accounts do you need to reconcile? How do you reconcile Shopify sales on Shopify versus the sales that got recorded on the books? How do you troubleshoot integration problems? And so we really went through a whole year of just refining everything based on some of the challenges that we were coming across. Oh, and even our favorite, how do we account for inventory? Because it just keeps changing all the time based on the specific situations that our clients have and how they're sourcing their products or how they're manufacturing their products. And in 2022, we have been expanding our knowledge in inventory management and apps, and we continue to do that. But as I said, the world of e-commerce is really, really big. So for you to say that your niche is e-commerce is, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think it's just still too broad of a niche because there's too much going on in the e-commerce world. You have marketplaces, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Walmart, Wayfair. People are selling on multiple marketplaces. You have platforms like Shopify where people sell on their own website. They're also using Squarespace or Square. Then you have shopping carts like WooCommerce, BigCommerce, and Volution. And shopping carts are what people put on a website that they built so that someone can buy a product on their website. Then you have payment processors. And so, as I talked before, a seller can make a sale, but they have to have a way for the consumer to pay them. And then they use payment processors like PayPal or Stripe or others. Then add to that, now in the COVID world, curbside pickup and delivery. And so there's just a lot going on in the world of e-commerce. And as I said, that's why I felt like, you know what, either I'm going to have to be jack of all trades again, which wasn't really getting me to where I wanted to be, and I wasn't going to make my employees happy. Okay. Or we could just narrow down our niche to really one sales channel, meaning Shopify, which still has a lot of challenges and complexity all on its own. So in developing our Shopify niche, we really then had to focus on that micro niche being Shopify, developing our technical skills, learning everything. In fact, it started with me. I'm the one who learned everything there was about e-commerce that I could find, and then teaching it to my employees. And so, and then teaching it to you on YouTube. And so it was one of those, I just kept learning, reaching out to people who were already doing this, talking to them, asking them about their experiences, but really just learning everything that I could on my own. Then choosing the right tools to work with, and then developing our workflows. As I said, developing a customized chart of accounts, developing a good method for integrating Shopify and QuickBooks, and knowing how to map all of the transactions, developing a monthly bookkeeping workflow, a way to reconcile all of the e-commerce accounts, a way to review and really retrain all of our employees on how to do this. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about even a micro niche and what that is, because I've alluded to it and said that, you know, my micro niche is Shopify sellers, but really my micro niche is Shopify sellers who use QuickBooks Online and who integrate QuickBooks Online and Shopify using an app called A2X. And so that is it's a tiny little part of the market that has really exploded for us. But a micro niche is a specific type of client with specific problems, using specific apps and tools, and who needs specific services. And so, for example, a specific type of client for us, as I said, is a Shopify seller who is a newer seller who's growing very fast. So that's a specific type of client at a specific point in their business journey with specific problems. For example, because they're growing really fast, they haven't set up any books yet. And so they're worried that, okay, I don't have any bookkeeping, but yet I'm going to make $1 million this year. So they need to have books. Another specific problem, maybe they tried to set up their books and they messed them up. Another specific type of thing they're doing is using specific apps and tools. So as I said, they might be using A2X. They could be using Bookkeep. They could be using Webgility or another type of app. And then specific services. And as I mentioned, we do very specific things for our clients. So I just wanted to share with you that you can find really good clients in the e-commerce space, in even Shopify sellers at a very specific, I keep saying the word specific. I will say it again, at a very specific point in their business. And if you focus on helping those types of clients, I think you'll be very successful. All right. So as I said before, that part of the niche or niche journey was that we needed to develop technical skills. So starting from the top, clearing accounts, e-commerce clearing accounts is one area in which you need to develop technical skills and understand what those are. And clearing accounts, basically, as I like to explain them, are, if you think of them as sort of like accounts receivable from the payment processors. So for example, say when a seller makes a sale on their website and the customer pays them with PayPal, then PayPal has to pay the seller for that sale, but PayPal may not pay that seller for, say, 2 or 3 days. So for that period of time in between when the sale was made and when the seller receives the money, we have to account for that difference using clearing accounts. If you look to the right of that, going clockwise, integrations is another area in which we do need to have those technical skills. So how are we going to integrate Shopify with QuickBooks Online? What is the best way to make that integration without causing a giant data dump into QuickBooks, without trying to make QuickBooks Online do things that maybe it's not meant to do, like tracking a lot of inventory, for example. And so we need to have that expertise as well. Inventory is another area in which we need to develop some technical skills around. And just understanding how does inventory work? What is the process around inventory? Whether, do you have a purchase order? Do you have inventory that you've paid for but you haven't received yet? Or do you have inventory on hand? How do you calculate cost of goods sold? Are things that we need to know about. So again, we don't have to be experts, but we do need to have a good understanding of these areas. Sales taxes is another. So as I said before, we decided that we would not provide sales tax services, but I definitely understand the difference between say, physical nexus versus economic nexus. And maybe those are phrases you've never heard before, but those are things that you would need to know about when working with e-commerce sellers. When are they responsible for collecting sales taxes? Now, the answer is it depends on every state. And so unless you have it all memorized for every state, at least in the US, that the answer varies. It varies in the country that you live in. It varies in the US based on the state that the seller lives in or the states that they're selling into. And so those are things that you need to know and have a general understanding so that you can be conversant. And then, as I said, just refer them to other experts. Payment processors is another thing that you need to know about. And as I said, payment processors like PayPal, Shopify payments, Stripe, Klarna, Affirm are all ways in which sellers get paid, basically. And so we need to understand the concept of payment processors and generally how those work. And then PayPal just gets a whole category of its own because PayPal is just such a challenging platform to deal with because PayPal does everything and PayPal takes money from everywhere that it can. So just even understanding how does what your client is doing in PayPal relate to what's happening on Shopify, and you need to understand that as well. Now, some of the tools that I've mentioned as far as integrators between Shopify and QuickBooks Online, the two that are high on my list, one is A2X and the other is Bookkeep. And then you have the links there if you wanted to take a look at either one of those. And then, if you want, again, I don't recommend necessarily working with like all kinds of e-commerce clients, but you see that you have the option of working with multiple sales channels like Shopify, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, Etsy, etc. When you use either one of these apps. And lastly, as I mentioned, after we figured out the apps, then we had to come up with our workflows. We had to come up with our Shopify chart of accounts. We had to change our client onboarding to know what are we going to ask the client for when we're onboarding them, because onboarding a Shopify client is very different from onboarding a client who is in the let's say a hair salon owner. Okay, there are very, very specific things that we need to ask of a Shopify seller to get access from them. The other thing that we added to our workflow, the A2X integration setup checklist. Then, okay, so if we're going to work with A2X, we're going to do an integration, we need a checklist for getting things set up. We need a monthly bookkeeping checklist. We need a monthly review process. So we had a lot of these things for our existing clients, but they were not specific to Shopify. We had to develop a process for recording and adjusting inventory and cost of goods sold. For some clients, I think we may do just their sales taxes for their home state. So we had to have a process for that, and then apply a process for cleaning up messy Shopify blocks. So going back to what I said before about the value of having a niche is that once you develop these workflows and you refine them, they don't change a whole lot, because we're not having to do this for 10 different kinds of industries. We're just doing it for our Shopify clients. I wanted to share some resources with you. I mentioned earlier that I do have an e-commerce accounting video playlist on YouTube, which gets a lot deeper into a lot of these technical things that I talked about. So feel free to go to that list and work your way through those videos so you can get more training on that. And there's also my free Shopify bookkeeping blueprint, in which I, in a very short and concise way, talk about the ways in which the books need to be set up for Shopify sellers. And Jessie will share those links for you, by the way, and of course they will be included in the handout. And Jessie's sharing that right now. Leslie's asking, is A2X for Canada? Yes, you can use A2X in Canada, as well as the UK, New Zealand, and Australia. And all right. As I mentioned before, when I introduced myself, I did talk about the 5MB Academy for just a little bit. The 5MB Academy is my online academy for helping you become a more confident bookkeeper. We have some wonderful training by some of my people that I'm partnered with, like Universal Accounting, who will teach you how to become a bookkeeper. Bookkeeper Launch is another as well. But I decided that I would, that my goal was to help train you to become a better and more confident bookkeeper. And as part of my online academy, I can't pronounce it, my online academy, I wanted to share with you that I do have a Shopify bookkeeping course called the Shopify Bookkeeping Method. And this course shows you my step-by-step method for doing Shopify bookkeeping using QuickBooks Online and A2X. And it really takes you through the entire workflow from beginning to end. So I'm going to teach you e-commerce basics, setting up your QuickBooks Online specifically for Shopify, how to work with A2X, setting it up, doing the integration, the monthly workflow, your monthly bookkeeping workflow, working with PayPal transactions, recording inventory and cost of goods sold. I'll teach you the essentials of U.S. sales taxes, and I even include some bonus content for you as well. And this course also includes a private student community on Facebook in which you get direct access to me. So as you're working through the course, or as you're working with Shopify clients and then you have questions, then you have access to me when you're working through those, so I can help you along the way. The Shopify bookkeeping method, if you wanted to buy the course, the one payment is $947, or you can buy it over 4 payments of $255, and then you will receive those lessons over 4 months. Jesse will share the link with you if you're interested in that. But just wanted to let you know that I also have other courses available because, as I said, I wanted to help you become a better bookkeeper. So the Academy really includes other courses, including the Virtual Bookkeepers Roadmap, my very popular QuickBooks Online Cleanup system, a paid diagnostic review system, simple pricing system. Can you tell that I teach systems a lot? And Unlock Your Financials. But I did want to let you know that I'm giving you guys exclusive access to my summer savings sale. So you will get a 12% discount on all of my courses, including the Shopify bookkeeping method and the courses that I mentioned. The sale starts today for all of you who attended the webinar. So you can use this coupon code right now to get those discounts. And Jesse is sharing the link. Jesse, please share the direct link to the courses, not just to the Academy. And so Jesse will share that with you. And as I said, you get exclusive access to the sale now. We're not promoting this to the general public until I think July the 1st, or I could be wrong. But anyway, sometime in early July. Okay. So we're giving you guys exclusive access to the sale. And I'm just going to just give you a quick link here so that you guys can click directly on to the courses and then use the discount code to purchase any courses that you would like. But the sale will go, did I include that? The sale ends on July the 10th. So no pressure to purchase today. I just wanted to share this with you. But as you know, I'm not someone who's going to force you to buy any courses. All right. So I'm just going to leave the information about the sale for you guys here. And I'm going to go into the Q&A and answer some of your questions. And actually, I'm just going to switch there. Okay. And Joe is asking, is it okay to just start in e-commerce if we don't know our micro niche yet? And then I think I went out of order, so I will answer that question. I lost it, but I think I know what she said. So if you haven't figured out the specific niche, should you start in e-commerce? You can, but again, keep in mind that e-commerce is more complex. So for each different sales channel that you work with, things are going to be different. And so you might try working, say, with Amazon sellers first. I would say Amazon and Etsy sellers might be perhaps slightly simpler to work with because Amazon and Etsy pay the sellers directly, as opposed to Shopify, which sellers get payments from various payment processors. Marie says, since I have never seen a Shopify platform, what would be the best way to see it and how it works? Sign up as a free Shopify partner, Marie. And if you Google, I think if you Google like Shopify partner, they have a way for you to just get a free partner account, which includes a sample company. It includes training on the Shopify platform. But that's a fantastic question, because I remember that was an issue for me initially of like, I don't even know what it looks like. Like, how would I even talk about it? And take a look at my tutorials on YouTube, and then you'll see when I talk about the sales summary, or rather the finance summary, is one of the key reports that you will need from Shopify. Joe's asking, do you need a background in inventory or sales tax to work in those areas, or can we learn? You don't need a background. And I will say that I do teach you in my course. I teach you pretty much most of what you need to learn in terms of basics. But I had to learn it on my own, just kind of trying to find information from everywhere that I could. So you don't need it. I think what you'll see is that the bigger the e-commerce seller, the more knowledge that you will have to gain along the way, or bring to the table, or bring other experts in, because their needs change along the way. Francie's asking, what does the chart of accounts for a Shopify client look like? And let me get some water. Well, a Shopify chart of accounts would need to have, on the profit and loss, we need to have a section for Shopify income, with sub-accounts for Shopify sales, refunds, and returns. It'll have things like shipping income. For example, it will have a section for cost of goods sold. Trying to think of what else. It will have a section that will include your payment processor fees for each specific payment processor. And then on the balance sheet, it will include the clearing accounts for each of the payment processors. If you sign up for my free Shopify bookkeeping blueprint, it'll show you all of the accounts that need to be on the chart of accounts. Debbie is asking, with Shopify clients, do you charge by the hour, not the job? I do not. I charge all clients a fixed price for doing their books, or for any project. Lindsay is asking, which service is most popular or most profitable? So going back to the services that we provide, which were setting up the books, setting up the integrations, doing the books, and doing cleanups. I would say for us, popular, and which can be made very profitable, is setting up their books and setting up their integrations with A2X. Because once you know how to do that, and you just give it a price, then we typically average, I think, $300 to $400 an hour for that service, just because we've streamlined it so well, and then we've learned to price it accordingly for our clients. Corinne is asking, do you recommend a Canadian bookkeeper sticking with Canadian clients? I would say yes, I do, just because at least from my perspective, we try to work with Canadian clients, and things are very different between the US and Canada. I'm not sure about other countries, but there are similarities, but then there aren't. And even the version of QuickBooks that you're using, you're working on two different versions of QuickBooks. The dates, the months and the days are backwards. And so I know it was just very confusing for us. And then, as you know, with the Canadian sales taxes are very, very different. Colleen, do you have your sales tax partners bill your clients completely separate from your own service billing? So yes, so the company that we have partnered with, they invoice everything separately to our clients. And so we really just make the introduction, have the client go work with that, with sales tax and more, and then sales tax and more handles everything. Marie is asking, what is Shopify's role in the sales tax or inventory setup? So for sales taxes, sellers are able to set up sales tax in Shopify, so that Shopify will collect the sales taxes. So it's up to the seller to know if they have nexus in the state. Obviously, they would have had to register in the state. And so the seller would have to be proactive about going into Shopify to get that set up. And the seller is responsible for filing and remitting the sales taxes. So Shopify only collects it if it's set up to do so. And inventory setup, Shopify kind of sort of manages inventory, like ending inventory, if the sellers put in the right quantity and the right cost. And so it's something that can be used, but is not a full-blown inventory management system. Daniel says, greetings. Does that mean for anyone to sell or do business on Shopify, they must have their own website? Yes, Shopify helps them or enables them to build a website, their own website, and then they can sell on that website. So every seller has their own website. Candice is saying, don't many Etsy or Amazon sellers also have their own Shopify? Sometimes they do. And so what Candice is asking, like, don't some of the people who sell on a marketplace like Etsy and Amazon also sell on their own website, and sometimes they do. And so sometimes you might be working with a Shopify seller who's also selling on other channels. Diana is saying some clients may sell via the eBay funnel requiring PayPal payments. In addition to Shopify, would you recommend working with a client like this? To Shopify. Okay, so I think what you're asking me is what we call a multi-channel seller. So they might be selling on Shopify, they might be selling on eBay. It depends. We try to stick with clients who are primarily selling on Shopify and maybe have a little bit of other sales on the side. And that, I think that's been the big distinction for us. We're not working with people who are heavy into multiple sales channels. And again, remember, we talked about the micro niche. That's what we choose to work with. Maybe your secret sauce or your superpower will be working with multi-channel sellers. Let's see. Beth Ann, can Square be a niche? Absolutely, Square can be a niche. I think more people need to be niching in Square. By all means, if you're interested, Beth Ann, go that direction and probably pick a type of seller, because Square is a point of sale system. So a lot of restaurants use Square, a lot of cafes use Square, as well as retail. So I would probably pick a segment of a type of user who's using Square and specialize. I think that would be an amazing niche. Flava says, are there any good books you can recommend to understand the e-commerce system? I don't know of any books. I honestly had to look for a lot of courses from other people, and that, I ended up developing my own course. So I mean, if shameless plug, my course will help you. Okay. But not books specifically that I know of. Francie is asking, what is your tech stack for your Shopify clients? So we're using a QuickBooks Online Accountant, so QBOA, A2X as an integrator between Shopify and QuickBooks. We use the Keeper app to manage the monthly bookkeeping workflow. And Jesse, if you want to share the discount code with them for a Keeper, that would be great. So Keeper app, trying to think of Gusto for payroll for some of our clients who use payroll. And we don't really use a whole lot of other apps because most of our e-commerce clients don't really manage accounts payable per se. They pay everything with credit cards. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's all. If we did use accounts payable, we would recommend that they use Melio. So I think that's my tech stack. So again, not a whole lot there. Marie, how many marketplaces is the average e-commerce seller using? What you'll see most of the time is that some of them will dabble, but it'll be, let's say if they're selling on Amazon, they may also sell on eBay, because if they sell on Amazon and then some of the things that they sell get returned, for example, they can sell them on eBay as used. Sometimes we'll see sellers who are selling on Shopify and Etsy. So maybe, generally speaking, probably up to 3 sales channels. But we have plenty of clients who are only on Shopify. And okay, another question from Marie. Is it better to get a new to Shopify client versus one who has been doing it themselves or incorrectly? Better to get a new to Shopify client, or sometimes they've been selling for a while but don't have books. And there are many of them. And as I said, some of them, they grow really fast. And so they're ready to invest. Okay. Ashioma says, would you recommend your Shopify course to a Canadian bookkeeper? Yes, I do. The only thing is that I do not get into the sales tax aspect of Shopify, but I do give you some resources for you to reach out to A2X to help you get that set up. But the process, the actual bookkeeping process is the same. Valerie says, you are integrating all inventory into QuickBooks instead of recording summary activity. No, we do not integrate any inventory transactions into QuickBooks. We record summary activity. Chris is asking, how long is the Shopify course? So the course is a recorded course, so you can do it on your own. And it's about 6 to 8 hours of training that you would do on your own. So if you think about this, do 1 hour a week for 6 to 8 weeks, and then now you have a Shopify niche. So who can say that? It took me, 2 years to build my niche? You could do yours in 2 months, okay? So let's see. Veronica says, do any of your courses help with reconciling clearing accounts? Excuse me. So my Shopify course will show you how to reconcile the clearing account, but it's specific to Shopify and not to any other e-commerce platforms. But I think once you understand how to do the reconciliation, that I think you can apply that knowledge to other sales channels. Excuse me. Well, I'm getting into that point now that I'm getting all raspy and coughing. Give me a moment. Jesse is jumping in, answering questions. Okay. Sorry, guys. Got a tickle in my throat. Okay, I'll see if I can keep going. Marina says, I follow your month and journal entries for Shopify entries, but my clearing account is slightly off and not balancing. What could be the cause? I did record the fees. Well, the clearing accounts technically will never clear as long as sales are happening, because there's a timing difference between when sales are made and when you get the money. And so there will be a difference. So I'm not sure if you're expecting that difference to be zero. It can't. However, in my course, I don't teach the journal entry method. I teach the method to use A2X to record all of the Shopify sales, which I think is a better method than using monthly journal entries, and I think would give you more accurate numbers than what you're getting now. Leslie's asking, % for cleanup or QBO briefcase? It depends. For our Shopify sellers who have like thousands of sales receipts in their QuickBooks, we use % to remove the sales receipts. I don't think we're using the QBO accountant tools very much, other than for recategorizing transactions. MD is asking, can I give tips on how to get Shopify clients? I covered that earlier in the webinar, so perhaps you missed that, so you may want to watch the recording. And I will tell you, but like I said, I'm kind of losing my voice now, but I did say it earlier. Lisa said, my client just started Shopify right now, and this is my first e-commerce client. What can you suggest or share as a beginner in Shopify? So make sure that you download my free Shopify bookkeeping blueprint, and that you also watch the videos on my YouTube playlist. And I think that'll get you going to help you get started. But again, and I'm sorry for the shameless plug, but really my course will help you to get to really know how to work with a Shopify client. Lisa's asking, does the Shopify chart of accounts, is that the same as Amazon? No. Those are completely different sales channels with very different types of transactions. The general idea is the general structure is the same, but the specific accounts are different. Noemi is asking, how do we deal with Shopify sellers selling in different countries? I don't have time to answer that. It's probably a very long answer. And a lot of it depends. So sorry, I can't answer that in this particular format. Carrie is asking, do you receive a referral for the partnerships? It depends on the partnerships that I have. So not from sales tax and more. I think it's up to you how you want to get that set up. Suriani is asking, does your Shopify course detail how to set up this integration, how to price and market? Yes. So the course training will show you how to set up the integration with A2X. And then I also talk about pricing your services. Oh, speaking of marketing, I forgot. Okay. So I do have a marketing course that I am releasing in October. And Jesse, if you can share that link with them so that, so if you're interested in my marketing course, because then how do you get Shopify clients? How do you get any client? I will show you what you need to do so you can attract the right kinds of clients in my new course. So sign up for the interest list for that course so that we can keep you up to date, and also so that you can get the best discount on the course when it goes live. Let's see. Mick is asking, do you have a range of pricing you can mention, average? So we start our Shopify clients, like the super, super simple ones. The minimum that we charge is $750 a month. Typically for the clients that we work with, they're ranging from about $1,000 a month to $1,500 a month. And then some of them go up from there. Xanatool says, I'm a pure e-commerce bookkeeper, and when customers ask me to calculate their inventory, I sometimes ask them to send me their SKU prices, which I've updated in A2X. However, sometimes they send me their purchase invoice, and it makes it extremely difficult to calculate SKU costs and shipping. So what's your opinion? We don't do that for our clients. Actually, we don't calculate or use A2X to calculate cost of goods. But if I did that, I would ask the client to send me a spreadsheet of all of their landed cost. I would not ask the client to send me individual records for me to calculate that. And let's see, how are we doing on time? I think we're doing okay. Mick is asking, what sales does it make sense to take on a new client? So it says that our minimum is $750 for a very, very simple, which is just rarely a simple Shopify client. So I would say you shouldn't take a Shopify client for less than $750 a month in US dollars. Natasha's asking, I just want to make sure this course will help me with my current client who sells using Shopify. I am currently cleaning up her books, just integrated her with A2X, and need to help her set up a way to track inventories as she makes her beauty products. So my course will teach you how to do the monthly bookkeeping, how to set up the books, set up the integration, and do the monthly bookkeeping work process, work through a month of doing your clients' books. Okay. It doesn't teach you how to clean up the books, although you can certainly take the knowledge that you gain from the course and do that. And it teaches you inventory fundamentals. Inventory is a very, very complex topic. And so I can't guarantee that it's going to teach you exactly what you need to do for that exact client, but it will certainly give you some fundamentals for you to be able to to know what to do in a general setting, and be able to work with those kinds of clients. But if you have a client who's making their own beauty products, that's going to be a challenge, just because that's a manufacturing situation, and manufacturing is like even more complex. What I find though sometimes is that we're way overthinking inventory for smaller sellers, and we need to come up with something more simple for them. Cantrell says, is there a big difference between working sellers with international buyers or those who only sell products to US-based buyers? So you're saying, working with sellers who have international buyers. Good question. I'm thinking of, we tend to work with clients who are US based and who are selling in the US. We do have some clients who are selling internationally. So at that point, then you're dealing with foreign exchange transactions. I would say that's probably the bigger difference, and perhaps some rules related to maybe VAT tax or sales taxes would be different. Myra is asking, which app, if any, do you use to receive clients' documents such as bank statements? We don't. The apps don't really work well to do that. Candice is asking, will your Shopify course cover anything about clients selling on other platforms like Etsy? No, it's specific to Shopify, because every sales channel is very, very different. And John, how quickly could someone get a client at the conclusion of the course? So I can't guarantee that you will get a client after going through the course, because I'm teaching you the technical aspects of doing Shopify bookkeeping. I think then once you take my marketing course, and again, I hate to like self-promote here, but the marketing course will help you to find clients. But I think overall that you need to then, as I said before, start letting people know in your circle that this is what you do now, so that people will know that they need to refer those types of clients to you. And Nestor says, I don't know if someone asked the question before, but where do you suggest as a per hour experience so far will be the best place on the internet to get in contact with Shopify bookkeeping potential customers? Oh, sorry, I'm read that wrong. I thought you said per hour. As per your experience so far, what will be the best place on the internet to get in contact with Shopify clients, basically? So I mentioned that look for meetups in your area. If you're near a big city, meetups for Shopify sellers. Look for forums and groups, online groups for Shopify sellers, online forums for Shopify sellers. Look for people who train Shopify sellers. Look for people to train people how to sell online, and see if they have a Facebook group. So look for people, for influencers in the space. Join those Facebook groups so you can start getting around those sellers. And as I said, referrals, I think it's a big opportunity as well, just because so many people don't want to do or work with Shopify clients. And Monica is asking, how do I advertise my services? I get all of my clients from YouTube and through my YouTube channel. I will be teaching you how to do YouTube videos in my marketing course that will be coming out later this year in October. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. That was a lot of exciting questions, and my voice has about given up now. But you guys had some great questions. I know for a lot of these too, I was like, where are these clients going to come from? And yet they did. Okay, so so if you build it, they will come, as they say. So it's important for you to get that training and knowledge, either from the free resources that I share with you or from my course, because whether you pick this as a niche or not, you will get a Shopify client at some point. All right. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you will have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.